Is there an alternative to dropshipping that doesn't chain you to your business and actually gives you the money and freedom you wanted in the first place? Let's find out. In this video, we will talk about some of the alternatives to dropshipping to consider if you're thinking about starting dropshipping or already have, and are sick and tired of it and want to see if there's other options out there. In an interview with the founder of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, as we all know, Jeff talks about 3 things that all of his customers are willing to pay for and how it won't ever change. He states customers like low prices, customers like large selection, and customers like fast delivery. And that will be the case 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from today. So he knows that he can spend a lot of energy, time, and resources into those 3 things because they are what sets Amazon apart from every other option. One of the biggest issues you'll find out soon with dropshipping, if you don't already know, is shipping times. Since most products are coming from China, shipping times can range anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks and even longer. This already violates a huge demand from customers who buy things online, and that is why dropshipping model relies almost 100% entirely on impulsive buyers who don't think before they buy. Now let's take a look into some of the dropshipping alternatives that don't violate one of the biggest laws of e-commerce, according to Jeff Bezos, which I think is safe to say we should consider. First alternative is Amazon FBA. I'm sure by now you've already heard of Amazon FBA, but in case you haven't, here's a quick rundown of how it works. Fulfillment by Amazon, Amazon FBA, is a means of third-party sellers to automate their order fulfillment and shipping services. It's a simple concept: sellers sell, Amazon ships. Anyone enrolled in Amazon FBA can let Amazon handle all the shipping, including returns, refunds, product warehousing in Amazon's warehouse, picking and packing, and everything else that comes along with it. Sellers send their products to Amazon, who warehouses everything and then processes all of the orders as they come in. As long as you handle the sale and make sure Amazon stays stocked with your products, the rest is done for you. And yes, you have to pay Amazon fees for it. Now you can start with as little as $500, but you're really not gonna go anywhere too fast with that. But once you factor in inventory, advertising, and other marketing fees like professional photos, packaging, most people end up needing about $10,000 to $15,000 to really get a good start. And you'd want a higher budget anyway because Amazon FBA is super competitive. It's hit or miss, so you want a good amount of startup money to pull it off properly. Think of Amazon as like the Olympics of e-commerce. The best of the best are there, and that is who you're up against. Next is an exciting one. Next we have create your own product. This is exactly what it sounds like. You're skipping the middleman, process and create your own product to sell to people. Many people that are in your exact situation have gone on to create multi-million-dollar products that have a positive effect on people's lives, and did so all without many resources to begin with. Take founder and CEO of the Snow Teeth Whitening Kit from John Ilitsky. Hope I'm saying that right. He is a 28-year-old self-funded millionaire and a serial entrepreneur who started this company in his early 20s, and that was after he had a successful digital marketing agency that he was running. He then sold that agency and then went to his dentist buddies to figure out what kind of product would people love and really change their lives. This was inspired after he had had multiple jaw surgeries and suffered from cotton mouth. The products they gave him were ugly and really didn't work that well, and he asked himself, why do these products look so terrible and medically? Could there be a better solution? One of the biggest struggles Josh went through when creating this teeth whitening kit was he had never done e-commerce or created his own product to this scale before. He didn't have any resources to go to, so what did he do? Like I mentioned earlier, he would go to his local dentist's office and talk with them about how and what kind of product the market needed based on their experience with their clients. What better people to talk to about oral healthcare products than the very people that are doing it? A dentist. Even though he had money at this point, it wouldn't have mattered for this part of his research. The biggest difference between Josh and other people that he says is that he was and is still very resourceful. He was a very resourceful person, and it stems from growing up without much to begin with. He states that this was his advantage, and you could say that him being an underdog in the beginning was his advantage. Josh did a great job of making his teeth whitening product look and feel like a premium product similar to that of Apple iPhone. Everything from the minimalistic design to the clean packaging was carefully designed and had a specific purpose behind it. One of Josh's most successful marketing efforts was paying for celebrities and influencers to promote his new product. He spent a ton of money doing this, but he was methodical in his approach, and it paid off for him in the end. There is a lot of risk involved in bringing a new product to market and educating the public on it and persuading them on how it will change their lives. It requires a lot of initial funds to pull off. Many startups have stories of maxing out multiple credit cards in order to properly pierce the noisy marketplace with their branded message. Creating and distributing your own product is both exciting and challenging. While coming up with your product is the first step in opening your own business, there's far more to the process, including hours of business planning and marketing efforts that need to be in place in order to find people willing to buy your new product. The road to selling your own products isn't easy, but the pride you feel when people buy and absolutely love what you sell may make all the countless hours of work and headache all worthwhile. Okay, so first thing you have to do is decide what product you'd like to make. This step includes designing the look and the purpose of the product and building a prototype. Now, your prototype might consist of an item you make yourself in the comfort of your own home, or you may need to hire a manufacturer to build a sample for you. I'd recommend hiring someone else to do this unless you have all the tools and software and engineering background necessary to design and manufacture your own product, which you most likely don't. Just hire someone else to do it. Trust me, if your product is unique, you will want to file a patent for it to keep other companies from developing a similar item. My advice, my 2 cents, find a product that already exists and white label it. We don't have to reinvent the wheel here. Find a product that draws an emotional response from your audience and solves a real life problem for them. Take Josh's example again with his product for the teeth whitening kit. It solves a problem of vanity for people, which is becoming increasingly important in the age of social media where looking perfect is partially defined as having sparkly white chompers. I used teeth whitening strips before and didn't like it, but a product like Josh's is definitely something that catches my interest if I decide to do teeth whitening again because of how easy and simple it is to get whiter teeth with. The problem of vanity is also why we see tons of skincare products, like a metric booty ton, every year and year after year. And it's because products that solve a deeper emotional problem simply convert much higher, especially when running paid advertising because people buy based on emotion and justify it with logic. If you remember one thing from this entire video, let it be that. Let it be that people buy based off of emotion and justify it with logic every single time. All right, now once you have a prototype or you've created samples of your product, it's time to test the market. Hand the product to family, friends, and acquaintances and get the reaction. Explain the product's use and ask your testers to be honest about whether or not they'd actually buy that product and what problems it solves for them, how they would use it, their concerns they have with it. Get as much feedback as possible from them. Use this feedback to refine your product idea. If feedback is good, you're ready to create or manufacture more of the product in preparation for getting it on the internet for people to buy. All right, next is finding buyers. Learn everything you can about the people who might potentially use your product, such as where they live, their income, family life, what types of media they use. You essentially want to create a fictional character or avatar person of who your perfect customer is, and you want to know this person's deepest desires and problems they face. Then from there, you can tailor your product to solving those problems. If your buyers are businesses, figure out the type of company that needs the product, the title of the decision makers, and make your avatar or your character, your person, from there. More than likely, you will be selling your product on the internet, so your avatar, ask yourself what social media platforms they would use the most, and then compare that answer to what platform that current product is already marketed on. To get your products on market, you must choose how you want to distribute it. Some companies rely on both the internet and a storefront to sell their products, but you can also sell your products solely on the internet, especially if your item appeals to a widespread audience. If you sell a very localized item, rent a booth at a local flea market or farmer's market to find buyers. Finding a sales distribution company willing to sell your product to retailers is another option if you prefer an indirect method of selling your new product. I would recommend doing this yourself on the internet in the beginning to cut down on costs, so when you're choosing your product, choose one that's already successfully being sold on the internet. Create your business off the backs of the people that went through the trial and error for you already. Learn from them. Next, create a marketing plan to determine how to create messages about the benefits and the features of your product. A marketing plan also helps you decide on the best promotional tactics to use, such as placing ads in parenting magazines if your product appeals to parents, or reaching out to Instagram influencers in your area, like how Josh did, to build an audience for your product. And on that note, partnering with influencers are some of the best ways to market a new e-commerce product right now, because the new generation, that's who they look up to today. Social media is almost entirely influenced and occupied by these newer generations, so it makes sense that this is where your e-commerce needs need to be at, because that's where your customers are congregating and spending a lot of their time. Now, you may be thinking that it's super expensive to market your products using these influencers, and you're right, it can be, but not always. You can still find plenty of up and coming influencers that will be willing to promote your products a lot cheaper than trying to advertise the traditional way, like on Facebook, on Instagram. Also, a lot of influencers have loyal fan bases that you can tap into. What's happening here is you're leveraging the trust and credibility that these influencers have built over the years, which generally means higher conversions because that influencer's audience assumes that the product they are promoting is a great product because their favorite influencer is saying, hey, this is my product right here. It's awesome and does this, so you should go buy it. Or hey, this is so-and-so's product. It's awesome. Here, go buy it. There's another platform that most people haven't even thought to advertise on, and it is totally untapped and very affordable, and that platform is podcasts. Podcasts can have very niche audiences with very specific interests. When you begin to hone in on who your ideal customer is, your avatar, like we mentioned before, you can begin to find obscure places where these people hang out, and the more niche down you can get, the more underpriced advertising opportunities you can find. So what this could look like is you could reach out to a podcast host whose listeners are your perfect customer and work out some sort of deal with them promoting your product. Now, it may sound scary for you to reach out to these people at first, and trust me, I get it, it was for me too. There is something that I did that made it way easier for me to talk to these people, and once I did, my way of looking at the whole thing changed and my fear of rejection was almost gone entirely. What I do, and do to this day, is I think about it like this. I have a product that is a high quality product that will solve a real issue for this person's audience. They're gonna try and solve the issue with someone else's product that I know will more than likely not be as good as mine. It's my duty to serve these people with my product, and I have an obligation to sell it to them. I will make money. This influencer or podcaster will make money, and their audience gets a great product that they are happy with, that they were gonna go buy anyway. It's a win-win-win scenario. Hope that helps with your mindset with reaching out to these influencers. Take a look at competitors. Even if they don't sell the exact same product as you, for instance, if you sell a hairdryer with a cooling feature, and every other hairdryer out there does that too, it's not a feature you'd really want to talk about that much since all the other hairdryers have them. It would be like Ford coming out with a new car and having an entire marketing campaign about the Bluetooth. Every new car has Bluetooth, so no, that doesn't make sense. A strategy to consider that was one of the biggest reasons Josh Snow's teeth whitening kit was so successful is letting your customers build the product. When he first brought that kit to market, he would literally call random customers himself and ask what they thought of the product, what it did well, not so well, and by doing that, he had his customers tell him exactly what they wanted, and when they did, Josh took their feedback and executed on a very high level, and because of that, he is now one of the biggest players in the oral care e-commerce industry. Next dropshipping alternative is buy wholesale and ship it yourself. This next method is going to suppliers and purchasing items at wholesale prices and then selling and fulfilling the order yourself. This method is very hands-on because you are doing everything yourself. You are buying the product, you're packaging, you're shipping, you're managing the transaction, refunds, chargeback, customer service, everything. Like, everything. Wholesale is all about building and finding connections with suppliers, buying huge bulk volumes, having your own warehouse to repackage products, which you can hire out eventually, and then selling at retail. Most people sell on Amazon. It's basically one of the oldest forms of selling physical products. Buy cheap and in bulk and sell at retail prices. Been around forever. The great thing about this model is that you don't really have to spend money on advertising because you're selling known brands that already have demand and people searching for them. The biggest barrier of entry is you need capital, money, to be able to buy products in bulk. You gotta be a bit of a risk taker because you'll be storing all of that inventory in bulk yourself until you can get a warehouse or another space. You also gotta get used to rejection because a lot of it is contacting countless suppliers and trying to negotiate for deals, and 99% of the time, getting a no, or a much more colorful version of no, is what you're gonna find yourself running into most of the time. So being able to be a good salesperson or negotiator is an important skill to bring to the business model, or any business model for that fact. It would benefit you greatly to be someone that has the personality type of being able to stay, one, organized, good with numbers, creating and implementing processes, and not afraid of making a bunch of phone calls, and studying on how sales work. One of the biggest factors that will determine your success, not just in wholesale, but in life, is learning to create and foster relationships. For wholesaling, this would be with the suppliers and your customers. The biggest advantage of purchasing wholesale stock is that you get a discount compared with buying individually. Best of all, The discount you can obtain from the wholesaler improves as your order volume increases, normally, meaning that your product margins can rise substantially over time as you start building a better relationship with that supplier. Because wholesale gives you direct control over the order fulfillment process, you have a great opportunity to customize the unboxing experience and make a favorable impression on your customers. Immersive brand experiences that speak of your business's values help to foster customer loyalty, which in turn increases the odds of repeat purchases. Doing this method of wholesaling gives you access to products and brands that are already well established. You can leverage this familiarity to give you more credibility as a vendor. Moreover, it's a powerful marketing strategy that helps to attract new consumer segments when you expand your product range with a new brand or product offering. As mentioned earlier, you want to buy items at wholesale prices from suppliers. To get those juicy discounts normally requires you to purchase a high volume of stock, often as high as 1,000+ units at a time. This can be an issue because you are not in a place to be able to sell that much product in a short period of time because as of now, it's just you wearing all the hats. So it might be a challenge being able to meet order requirement to get that fat discount from suppliers. Since you're buying and shipping everything yourself, that means you gotta have a place to store all of it. Storing high volumes of inventory requires a lot of warehousing space, or most of your apartment or your parents' basement. And if you want to eventually scale, you're gonna need a better option than your place or mom and dad's house. You will need to rent out a storage unit or even a warehouse, which then comes with hiring people. Hiring warehouse workers to manage all of it. And at that point, it's a totally different game since now you have employees. But until you decide, or if you ever decide to open that can of worms, all your inventory will be sleeping soundly next to you at night. When you're buying branded products, you have a limited ability to set the rules of the game. The price that you can sell products for is always going to be controlled to some extent by the competing retailers, which means it may be more difficult to use certain promotional and selling strategies. Inventory made up of branded products makes it much harder for you to stand out from the crowd, which means you will need to find a competitive advantage elsewhere. All of these dropshipping alternatives have one thing in common. They all don't continue to operate unless you do. They aren't evergreen. And for that exact reason, that's why I moved over to a business model called local lead generation that once is set up, runs on autopilot and brings passive income, not active. It's the closest thing to set it and forget it that there is to making money online. Click the link in the description to learn more, and when you have questions, comments, or concerns, let me know in the comments. Let's talk.